The Chronicles of Narnia, Vol.4, Prince Caspian, Chapters 5 to 8. Chapter 5, Caspian's Adventure in the Mountains. Okay, so after Caspian and his tutor, Dr. Cornelius, so after those two had the secret conversation in the secret tower, they had much more. They had many more. And actually, the tutor told him a lot about old Narnia. So Caspian was happy. And he learned many things apart from that from tutor. Cornelius. After many years, Caspian was wakened by Dr. Cornelius, and he didn't expect it. So he, of course, thought it was astronomy time. But Dr. Cornelius didn't really look as if he was going to do it. He looked really careful. He told Caspian to have all his clothes on, and there is a big journey upon him. Well, even if I was Caspian, I wouldn't have known what that meant. So, of course, Dr. Cornelius took him up the tall tower, the high tower. Then he told Caspian amazing. The queen has had a son. Because she had a son, now Miraz wants his son to become the next king. Well, before there was that baby, he thought he would give the throne to you because it would be better than the throne to some old stranger. So he thought about giving it to him because it would be better, just the Caspian line. But now he has had his own son. He would want his own son to become the next king. And now he apparently wants Caspian to get out of the way. That was really astonishing and shocking. So, Dr. Cornelius said he couldn't go with him because two is more easier to be spotted than one. So he said Caspian to go quickly out of the castle and run away with his horse, Destrier. So all night he rode southward. So the horse, his name was Destrier. So he was really excited as his, master at this unusual journey. And Caspian, though he had cried saying goodbye to Dr. Cornelius, felt really brave, and I think happy in a way, because he thought that he was King Caspian riding to seek adventures, and his sword with him, and Queen Susan's magic horn too. Dr. Cornelius gave Queen Susan's magic horn too. He was riding and riding and riding and riding. Then something struck Caspian on the forehead, and he knew no more. So when he came to himself, he was in a firelit place. So there were three voices. And now. Okay, so I'm reading this one, okay? And now, said one, before it wakes up, we must decide what to do with it. Kill it, said someone else. We can't let it alive. It would betray us. We ought to have killed it at once, or else let it alone, said a third voice. We can't kill it now. Not after we've taken it in and bandaged head and all. It would be murdering against. How do you think about my voices? Okay, so Caspian was a little bit afraid. So he asked whatever they do to him, he hoped they would be kind to his poor horse. So they replied that his horse fled. Okay, so when he came to himself and when his eyes came to himself too, there were two dwarfs. Their names were Trumpkin and Nickelback, and one else was the badger, the kindest and the cutest, of course. His name was Truffle Hunter. So after a long discussion, well, maybe not so long, but they decided to leave Caspian alive. So Caspian told them the whole thing. Okay, so Nickelback was not the kindest, maybe to say the opposite. So Nickelback didn't like the story and wanted to kill Caspian, but the other two firmly said no. Okay, so I told you that Caspian could sing. And they even promised that as soon as he was able to go out, he could be taken to see what Trumpkin called the other people. And of course, they would be the creatures from the old days of Narnia that lived in hiding. Okay, so remember the promise that I said a while ago. Chapter 6 is all about that. Okay, so he actually met the people that lived in hiding. So there were the 3 bulgy bears, and they were indeed bulgy. So, and there was a squirrel, which was really fast, and which was a chatterer, and was big. Okay, so her name was Pattertwig. And like much more people, or to say creatures. So in the end, everyone agreed that they could have him as the king. And they decided to go with the war too. Then, after a long silence, he heard some faint music. Then it got closer. Then he saw fawns. Okay, so here are the names. I know them. So, dear Mentius, Dumnus, Albentius, Gerbius, Fallens, Baltinus, Neminus, Nausis, and Oskins. Okay, so Patrick has sent them all. Okay, so first he thought it was a dream, but when he woke the next morning, he could hardly believe it was. But the grass was covered with little cloven hoof marks. That meant it wasn't a dream. Okay, so chapter 7, Old Narnia in Danger. Okay, so remember that I told you that they were going to meet and they were going to have a war? But what? Did I tell you? Okay, so I don't remember. They are. So they met at the dancing lawn. Wait, they call it the dancing lawn. Okay, so when they met, they had discussion. But then the creatures noticed they felt something like a man. Not quite a man, not really a creature from Narnia. But it wasn't really human, and they doubted it was a creature of Narnia. Okay, so when they found it, you would never realize it. It was Dr. Cornelius. Okay, so Caspian was really double excited to see him. Okay. So Dr. Cornelius joins the plan. They got all plans now that the learned man, Dr. Cornelius, was there. Okay, so they've not really done real good because they did harm to themselves rather to the enemy. And it was partly because of giant cymbal weather. Wimble weather. So he kept on breaking out on the wrong time, and yeah. So they decided to blow the horn now. So they decided to send 2 messengers, and so bring the help back to them, because the help might not really appear to them in front of them. So one was Trumpkin. Trumpkin volunteered too, and one was Pattertwig, the squirrel. So she and Trumpkin decided to go on. Okay, so it was really chapter 8 now. Okay, so it was really Trumpkin that had been telling the whole story. He thought first that no help had come, and he hadn't realized that the help was the 4 children back from the past. So after fitting with their armor, the children decided to have competitions with Trumpkin. So they did sword fighting with Edmund and archery with Susan. Of course, Edmund won and Susan won. They were good. But so actually, not from the battle, not from the competition that they had with Edmund and Susan, but he had a wound. Trumpkin had a wound. So there was this magic cordial from Santa, and it was in the diamond bottle. Remember, it was the gift for Lucy. Okay, so Lucy took out her cordial and cured Trumpkin's wound. Okay, so the children decided to call Trumpkin dear little friend TLF. Well, so the point is they had to row a little bit southward till they've come to the Glasswater Creek and row up to it. So the girls needed to be better in the boats and shout directions to the DLF. So the DLF has to steer, but he doesn't know the way. Okay, so for the girls it was delightful work, but the boys decided to row. It was grueling work, and their arms almost fell out. Okay, so this is the end of Prince Caspian Vol.4 of the Chronicles of Narnia, chapters 5 to 8. Okay, so thank you for listening. It was Orchid, and bye.